well, we've got a couple of minutes here. I want to share with you at least one more clip this hour from today's debate over H.R. 822, the National Right to Carry Reciprocity Act. Let's take a listen to Hank Johnson, a Democrat from Georgia, who is speaking out in opposition to your right to carry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in opposition to this dangerous bill, the National Right to Carry Reciprocity Act.
Dangerous.
The 10th Amendment of the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution provides as follows: the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively, or to the people. Mr. Speaker, this bill would override the laws of almost every state by forcing them to accept concealed carry gun permits from every other state, even if the permit holder would not be allowed to carry a handgun in the state where he or she is traveling.
All right, can we stop for just one moment here? It is absolutely bizarre for me to listen to Hank Johnson make a 10th Amendment argument against H.R. 822. Again, where was your concern for the Representative? Could you point out in the Constitution where Congress has the power to compel every American to purchase health insurance, regardless of whether or not they want to? That wasn't an abuse of the 10th Amendment? Now, again, the 10th Amendment argument, I mean, that just points out how hypocritical Hank Johnson is. The 10th Amendment argument falls apart when you consider recent history, specifically the McDonald decision, in which the Second Amendment was incorporated against state and local government intrusion through the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. Now, why was the 14th Amendment necessary? Well, after the Civil War, sadly, you had state and local governments in what used to be the Confederacy that were depriving freed slaves who were now citizens of the United States of their constitutional rights. And Congress wanted to put a stop to it. So they passed the 14th Amendment. Now, in the 1870s, late 70s, and the early 1880s, there were some cases challenging the 14th Amendment that got up to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, in a number of decisions which have been pretty widely denounced by the legal community, really stripped away a lot of the protections afforded by the 14th Amendment. It wasn't until the 1920s that the Supreme Court went back and started revisiting these issues, and they used the process of selective incorporation, meaning they looked at individual rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment, and decided whether or not they fell under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. The reason why we have the 14th Amendment is because we had state and local governments who were denying Americans their right to keep and bear arms. You can go and you can listen, or you can't listen, but you can read the transcripts of the debates in Congress on the 14th Amendment, and this issue keeps being brought up again and again. The specific issue of Americans being denied their Second Amendment rights and Congress needing to act. And now today we had Hank Johnson from Georgia become a states' rights advocate. It's just, sometimes you feel like you're living in a bizarro world. All right, let's listen to a little bit more from the representative from Georgia.
This is ridiculous. Each state should decide who may carry a concealed loaded gun within their borders, and the federal government should respect the state's rights to do so.
Now, again, I'm sorry, again, in the 1870s, let's say the state of Louisiana had decided, we think people who aren't a lily-white shade of skin color don't get to carry a gun. That's okay? Does Congress not have a duty to act in that regard? So why on earth would you say that Congress doesn't have a right or the duty, not even the right, the duty to ensure that a fundamental individual right of all Americans, regardless of their socioeconomic background, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of how they vote or if they vote. But if you are a law-abiding American, you get to exercise your Second Amendment right, and Congress is going to protect that. What on earth is wrong with that?